Shivam, your host for today. And trust me, you're going to want to stay till the end of this one because there's a lot of things coming up for you. In our last episodes, we explored stories raw, real. While we loved the openness, we also heard our audience. So from today onwards, we are changing the gears a little. We'll have more structure, more clarity, and a lot more takeaways dedicated towards section by section and segment by segment. So let's start with the main person about Growbinar, the person who started it all. What started as a student WhatsApp group is now a nationwide spark where 38,000 plus groups students are building, learning, and breaking limits together. From hosting hackathon that make headlines to bringing Microsoft and Adobe into your weekend, Growbinar isn't here to teach. We are here to wake up the system and the hype series that just the beginning you are trying to see. And Event High is our co-host. Um, it is a company led by Mr. Nilesh Kumar Gupta, founder and CEO. While it's a company which is redefining how we discover, manage, and experience events in digital age, empowering both organizers and attendees with a tech-first platform. As you guys have registered through it, you know how fun it is as a platform. Yeah, guys, uh, this is a time when we start our episode, as we have already given the mention to host and co-host of the event. Hey everyone, whether you're aiming for a job, planning a startup, or exploring the creator economy, there's a universal lesson in every journey. Today's episode is all about decoding those lessons from someone who has done it all. So, coming on to the first segment, meeting the speaker, who you are really eager to stay and see who it is. Let's welcome Ayon Ghosh, a senior software engineer at Microsoft, a mentor, a freelancer, a solopreneur with 13 plus years of experience in front end and mobile, from Flipkart to startups to global consulting. This man has stories and strategies. Ayon's passion isn't just building scalable products, it's also about guiding others through his own maze of decisions. And today we are going to walk through the maze one step at a time. Hi, everybody. Say hi to Mr. Ayon, sir.
Folks, am I audible? You can hear me, right?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Great, great, great. Thanks for
Good
confirming.
evening.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. How is everyone doing?
Great, sir. Excited for this session.
Yeah, me too.
I think people will gonna come. Let's start the session, sir.
All right, let's go ahead.
Like, sir, let's kick off where it all began. You graduated from a tier 2 college and landed at Infosys as a system engineer. Tell us about the early phase, especially the year you spent on the bench in Chennai. What was it like? How did it turn it around?
Right, so, it was unfortunate. Uh, so I was having a hard time finding a project, and I wasn't sure of what what my career was going to look like. Because I wasn't even sure what kind of technology and what kind of stack I'm going to look at, I'm going to work on. So yeah, it was a hard time because you know when you're absolutely not sure what the future holds for you. So, but the thing is, I kind of stayed persistent. I was looking for different opportunities to I always had a love for programming engineering, but at the same time I was trying to find the right match for what I like to do. So yeah, I just kept looking and then eventually found a project in Pune, which was building certain POCs for ERP backends, right? So it was about building hybrid mobile applications using web technologies to uh, create the front ends for ERP backends, basically enterprise apps. So I got in touch with the manager there. I kind of told him that this is what I want to do. These are the skills I have. Would you be willing to give me a chance and make me a part of your project? So yeah, I mean that person I would probably be grateful for my entire life, because not only he gave me a chance, but he was also one of my biggest supporters. He supported me throughout the journey, and yeah, I think that was a major point during my very initial days. And the great thing was it wasn't like a typical client project where you would just be working on fulfilling some requirements. Here we were trying to build POCs. We were trying to build something for the client to show them that something like this is possible, and then you know use that to acquire some customers. So that's how it was. I did uh, move on when we were pretty close to. I mean, I worked on some apps, and after that, that's when I really fell in love with web technologies, and I decided to move on for a more product oriented, product focused, role. But yeah, that was an awesome time to learn, and really that vision was coming into place. Like what is it that I wanted to do? What are the skills? What are the technologies? What is the stack that really attracted me? So yeah, that's how it pretty much began. And again, like I'll always be grateful uh, to my manager in that. I would say I've always been lucky to have be working under good managers, and he was the first. So yeah.
Like that's inspiring. So you joined this project in Pune, which gave you freedom to explore and learn. What was the biggest mistake you made back then, and how did you overcome it? That's one thing we want to ask.
Yeah, that's a that's a great question actually. And being a, I would say the mistake. I wouldn't say I made any major mistakes that I kind of regret, but uh, I also later realized that during the initial stages of your career, you are probably trying to do something which is all technical and everything, but maybe that's not the whole picture, right? Again, I'm saying that I did not realize this while working on it, and it wasn't a mistake that kind of hindered my progress or hindered my career in any way. But I later realized this as I grew more mature and as I gained experience. That and I also tell this every time to anyone who seeks my help or advice, that it's very important to you know try to be an engineer rather than be a programmer or a coder. And at that point in time, yes, I was, I was focused more on programming because that's what I loved. That's why I joined computer science and engineering. That's why I wanted to have a career in software. Uh, but the thing is, it's very different. Like what you actually work on and what you're supposed to uh, work on, what you're supposed to build. The engineering side of it is more than the programming or the coding side of it, right? So I would say that's one major learning that I've had over the years. And yeah, I would say that whenever you're starting your career, I know you would love programming, you would love technology, you would love to maybe use the most cutting edge frameworks, the new thing that is coming in. But it's very important to be cognizant of the fact that all of this is ties to a bigger picture that's called engineering, software engineering, right? And it is much more than just programming or coding. All right. So that is probably one kind of like mistake, and at the same time, one piece of advice that I would like to give all of you. Yeah, I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, I can agree to this perspective. This kind of mistake is with 80% of the engineers. They don't focus on problem much, but they obsess over the tech stack. What should we use? We need to build the best of the best pipelines and all. We don't think if the product is really needed, is the engineering great or something.
Right.
I think the perspective you have put on is really great. Like freelancing while working sounds intense. How did you shape your next steps, especially moving towards product companies as you're freelancing, you're working in a service-based company. At the same time, you're trying to move towards product-based companies. How these things you're working on?
Right. So, the reason I started freelancing was not for extra cash, uh, but to get an opportunity to grow my skills even more. As I told you, I was kind of confused. I didn't know where I wanted to go. I was working on this thing, web technologies. I liked it, uh, all of that. But at the same time, uh, I also wanted to see how it is to work with actual clients, how it is to build something from scratch, kind of get that product kind of experience, right? So what that uh, means is, I was uh, so that's why I joined freelancing, and I worked on a good number of projects. These were all small projects, but there were clients from all over the world. There was also one guy from Brazil. Very interestingly, we actually became friends because we worked on so many projects. He liked working with me, and uh, I think I did about 3 4 projects for him, and yeah, and that was very interesting. But I would say at that time I was still focused on coding and not core engineering. And of course, when you're freelancing and when you're not taking up very big projects, it's basically it's more about building something quick and dirty rather than building it in a proper way, building it in a more scalable way, because you neither get the time for that nor are there any such expectations most of the time. uh, but yeah, it was a little crazy, but at the same time I think it was fine because it was my younger days. uh, so yeah, I had work days that spanned from 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. at night, and the reason was that I was having my day job in between, so I tried to squeeze in a few hours before I started office and a few hours after office to uh, fulfill the freelancing commitments that I had. And yeah, I mean, it also brought in some extra income, although as I said, that wasn't the main goal. But it also gave me a lot of confidence that I could talk to people, to clients from different parts of the world, and try to understand the requirements and build something that fit that and that helped them. So yeah, I mean, it was a great learning experience, and despite those crazy hours, I would say it was one of the happiest times of my life because it really made me feel very fulfilled, right?
A great perspective. Let's open this forum for 2 3 question guys. Guys, if you want to ask 2 3 questions related to the journey so far, you can. You just need to on your videos and speak up the question. That's a really great deal you can. Guys, any questions you can speak up?
Hello.
I can hear you. Yes.
I saw myself Parth. So my question is about a Microsoft company. So how do Microsoft should balance their innovation and stability across the product?
Come again. So was your question like how does Microsoft balance their innovation and stability across products?
Yeah.
Okay. So what do you mean by that? You mean that how do we innovate without breaking things? Because in startups there has been a saying that move fast and break things. Is that what you're looking for? Okay, I think what you were that's what your question is about. So yeah, and that's a very good question, and that's one of the major differences that I saw in working for a large organization compared to uh, a major part of my career in the beginning, which was spent in startups and mid-sized companies. Yes, in startups, because the business has to grow much faster, uh, there's a lot of things to try, and it's not just in terms of innovation. Even from the business side of things, you have to try a lot of things, a lot of ideas, and probably 70 to 80% of them would be just dropped because it's not working out. It's not what the customers are looking for. So yeah, that feedback loop, building quickly, getting the right feedback, and then iterating on it is very important. But for large organizations like Microsoft and other large organizations, uh, the thing is, the innovation doesn't stop, but and also the experimentation also doesn't stop. But the experimentation happens at I would say, a much slower scale, and not slow in a bad way, but in a way that where you are you're doing a lot of analysis more than what you can do in a startup, right? If something is not working out, you can still try to do a little more iterations on that to see whether it is something that would eventually offer value to your customers, right? And I would say that I have seen in large organizations, they do analyze a lot of data compared to startups. Startups, again, it has to move fast. So I don't think, I'm not saying they don't analyze data, but in large organizations, the level of data analysis is very high. The second thing is that the engineering systems and the processes uh, are set up very well, right? In startups, a lot of times, because you have to move fast, you may not be able to build robust systems. Uh, you may not be able to spend a lot of time in uh, building out the infrastructure side of things or the base framework platform, that sort of a thing. Whereas in large companies, there's a very big focus on building out proper systems, proper modules, and the integration is insane. How one module talks to the other, how everything is well set up. For example, if something goes wrong in a startup, again, like it's not a joke. I'm not exaggerating it, but sometimes the best way to figure out if something is going wrong is to just go on Twitter and see whether people are talking about that. It really happens in a lot of cases. But in large companies, that is unacceptable. You have to really get alerted before somebody tweets about it or somebody posts a message on a public forum or social media, right? So the way all this alerting and everything is set up for identifying when something goes wrong, and then there is mechanism in place which are just engineering systems and processes, right, which helps you troubleshoot when something goes wrong. Those are also at a much more mature level, I would say, compared to smaller companies. But again, I'm not saying that in either a positive or a negative way. It's that there are certain things you can do as a small business, and there are certain other liberties or flexibilities that you have as a large company. But at the same time, there are some limitations also that you need to have as a large company, where you just can't go wrong, where small things cannot just fail, right? So it has to be stable, uh, and the balance in innovation can never be at the cost of stability. Whereas in startups, sometimes, it's okay to fail, but then recover fast. But in large organizations, that is probably not an option. You have to be more stable, but experimentation will be there, but it should not be at the cost of stability. So I hope I have answered the question.
So, I got my answer. And one more question.
Yeah.
So it is general question. If you are starting your career today, right now, what would you do differently from the job you are pursuing?
Hmm. Right. So yeah, that's
What
another
you know
great
that.
question. Yeah, that's another great question. What I would do differently is I probably wouldn't do anything differently, but what I feel I lacked during the initial stages of my career and even during my while I was doing my BTech is the guidance and the exposure to all these different you know all these different options basically, right? What all kind of roles that exist in the software industry. I wasn't even aware that there what is the real difference between the service industry and the product industry. What kind of work is done in the product companies. All of these things. So I mean, again, based on the guidance, maybe I would have done something differently. But the guidance is something that I really lacked, and of course the exposure to to this information. And of course, I would say that it is always lucky if you have a mentor who can, uh, preferably a pretty senior guy who can tell you who can give you that guidance essentially, right? Who can tell you what all options you have, how do you decide on those
Sir, I
options,
don't have any girlfriend. What should I do?
what all the what all different possibilities are there, right? What uh, what career options do you have? So all of these different things. If I had that guidance and if I had someone I could ask this question, then maybe my path would have been slightly different, but I don't think I would have ended up somewhere very different. I would have probably ended up in the same place and have had a pretty similar journey. Maybe just a little, you know, maybe a little faster, maybe a little slower. I don't know. It's not always possible to say that. But yeah, I think I would have been able to have better clarity in the initial stages compared to it took me about 3-4 years in my career or maybe a little more to get that clarity. I expect I would have gotten that a little earlier if I had a mentor.
Thank you
Was
so
a
much,
great
sir.
perspective, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
Great question.
Aryan, your turn. Aryan, it's your turn to ask.
I was thinking to suicide since I couldn't understand fast Fourier transform data algorithm. Should I go ahead from the 14th floor or 21st?
Aryan, do you really want to ask some questions? And if you don't want to, I think you should really suicide.
Folks, sorry for the inconvenience. So, I think that is some AI voice. I'm really sorry for the inconvenience. Right, let me remove the participant. So, yeah, thank you. Sorry, guys, you can
Hello?
go ahead. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, one more thing which I wanted to ask is like this is fine, but the major part is while we guys gonna join the workforce is coming year or two, the major question we get is we will be in service-based company, but somewhere or other we wanted to transition in product base as you have done it before. Could you put some light on it? What would the journey look like? What are the major challenges between those? And what we need to do differently to do so? Because there are a lot of people who are trying to do the same thing.
Right. So, my first advice would be just, don't look at it like service product based is better than service based or anything of that sort. I'm not saying that. Look for whether your interests and your long-term goals align with whether you want to work in the service-based domain or whether you want to build things, right? So that's how you should be thinking about it. So, and if you feel that your interests lie in product-based work, building things, then I would say the first thing is to uh, grow some skills around building, and that sounds pretty abstract, but what that really means is being able to clear interviews first of all, and growing that credibility somehow, that that you'll be able to work as a builder. Now, one of the biggest challenges that I faced while I was trying to transition is that even before people are willing to test my skills, the credibility part was a challenge, right? And I'm being very frank here. People would not even answer to my emails, right? And I've seen a change in this mind shift
Experience suicide with me. Don't
of
die
late.
alone.
Of late, I've seen this, this mindset change where people are more welcoming to candidates from service-based companies and all. They are willing to interview and actually evaluate their skills rather than go by any kind of bias or assumption. So yeah, that's probably the biggest challenge. And then how to overcome that is, it is a numbers game to some extent. You have to just be persistent and try to find the right opportunity. Again, in my case, there was a hiring drive that I participated in, and when there is a hiring drive, there is no bias or anything. Anyone is welcome, and there was an assignment that was given out. You had to do it and submit it in, I think, 24 hours or 48 hours, something like that. So I did that. I submitted it, and it got accepted. And it got accepted because I would say that I was trying to build those skills through freelancing and through all reading a lot of things and through that. So there was a bit of upskilling involved, but I wouldn't say it was a very uphill journey. So yeah, with some effort, you might get the right opportunity to prove yourself, and then when you get called for the interviews, of course, like, then if you have the right skills, you would be able to crack it. So yeah, I mean, it may not be a very detailed answer, because a detailed answer is probably not very possible, because it will vary from one person to another based on their circumstances and all. But overall, I would say try to gain that skill or understanding that is required in a product-based company. You don't have to go like fully in depth, but you have to keep that mindset of what it means, what engineering is about, how to think in terms of engineering rather than programming, as I said earlier. And then just be persistent, keep trying. It took me a while to even get my first interview call. I think it took me about 3 months to even get the first interview call, and then gradually something happened. So that's what So yeah, that's how I would say that you could approach a transition like that.
Ravi, you can ask your question now.
It's me, CK Shetty over here. So, I had a question. What tech stack do you recommend for freshers to join Microsoft uh, or any big companies? You say.
See, Microsoft or any big companies work on a variety of tech stacks. right? So there is no recommendation as such. You can start a career in pretty much any kind of tech stack. That is why I say it is always important to understand where your interests lie, right? And I think the decision-making framework in this case is, if you are very clear about this is something that I want to work on, let's say web technologies or maybe machine learning, whatever it is, right? Try to see if you can interview for a position like that, whether there are opportunities in the market for positions like that. And then the other thing is, if you are not very sure about where your interests lie, then I would say pick something, try it out, right? Maybe it's okay to maybe spend a year and see whether you can develop an interest in that. It might seem to you that you're wasting time, but I think in the initial first 3 years of your career, at least you can spend that time in doing a little bit of experimentation, right? In trying to figure out what is it that you really want to do, and then trying to create your long-term career along that path. So, there are no personal recommendations as such, and it would also not be right to give a recommendation. It would be a very, very biased answer. But yeah, that's how you could decide on what you want to pursue.
Okay, so and is it too late for I'm a third year student right now. You said prepare on ourselves for 3 years. For my friends who had taken these 3 years very lightly, is it too late for them to start now or to prepare for those companies? You say?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. See, I even, very frankly speaking, in my college days, I studied, but there was nothing exceptional in what I did, right? I wouldn't say I was a bad student, but again, there was nothing exceptional in whatever we did at that time, right? Or there wasn't anything anything great that I learned during that time that would really come handy in the practical scenarios in the when you're actually in your job, right? So it is never too late. It is always better that you realize what you want, right? I would say what's bad is not knowing what you want to do, or not even trying to understand what you want to do, and then cribbing about it, which is even worse. I would say that, at least if you don't like what you're doing, that's an indicator.
Make America strong again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again.
Yeah, as I was saying, that it's better to follow those signals and at least try to understand what you want to do or what you don't want to do. Even if you don't understand what you want to do and rather what you don't want to do, then at least you can start looking for other things. So having that realization and then working towards that clarity is going to be very important. And I would say that if you ever feel in that situation, it's always the recommended approach would always be to work towards what you want, right? So there is no late in any case here. I've even talked to, very interestingly, I had talked to someone. I've seen a lot of people who don't even come from a tech background in the software industry. But there was one particular instance where I saw a guy who had worked in a completely different sector for 8 years of his life, right? Where by 8 years you probably become a senior software engineer or something in any average organization. But this person, 8 years is when he realized that he loved software and he wanted to get into it. So, if you ask him that, is it too late? He would say no. and with 8 years of experience, he was willing to, try out into a completely different domain because he loved it. So I find that very inspiring.
How much does this competitive coding or this lead code or hacker rank, what they provide, does that matter for this hiring process?
Right. Very, very, very good question, actually. So see, there are two aspects here. First of all, competitive coding is just coding, right? It's not engineering. That's number one. So being a very good competitive coder would not mean you would be an excellent software engineer. Okay? But at the same time, fortunately or unfortunately, a lot of companies put a lot of stress on this competitive coding aspects, mainly algorithms and data structures, in their interviews. And a lot of these companies are doing it. They're just trying to, mimic someone else, right?
Yes.
And that someone else is usually Google, because they built a system around it. Their hiring process was built around it, and they tweaked a lot. If you look at Google's interview process over the years, it is like a product of its own, right? They used to ask all these brain teasers and everything, and they collected data on all of these. They wanted to see if asking brain teasers actually resulted in them hiring better candidates, and they found it did not. So at one point in time, they just dropped it. So, they evolved their hiring process, and this is something that works for them. They look for generic engineers. If you interview at Google, there will be a role, but everyone will have to go through a similar interview experience. It's not like if you are into web tech, they will ask only web-based questions and not data structure algorithms. Google puts stress on data structure algorithms because they think, and they have data to prove that it results in better, hiring decisions, right? So, and a lot of companies, they just try to follow that without really understanding, like how it is working for Google. But it is what it is. It is unfortunate that a lot of companies do put stress on that. So I would say that yes, you have to prepare algorithms and data structures to some extent in order to crack these interviews in a lot of companies. But I also see a lot of companies who put in some thought process into the recruitment process. They do they do ask a lot practical kind of real world based problems, right? They ask you to solve real world problems rather than just do a data structure algorithm thing. So yeah, I mean, to answer that in brief, it is not very important in software engineering as such. Fundamentals, yes, are required. You need to understand what algorithms are, what data structures are, where and how to apply them. But the kind of hard lead code questions that will probably not be very helpful in your day-to-day work. But you need to, it's a necessary evil. You need to practice that to some extent to crack certain interviews. That's how it is.
So, when you say it's competitive code,
Chinmay, I think we'll move forward for one more question from
yes.
our side in the journey. Then we'll open the forum again for discussion.
Oh, okay.
Sir,
And I see a couple of questions on the chat thread as well, so I'll answer them soon after, right? Will this chat be open a little after the call?
yeah, it will be.
Cool. Then I'll probably answer all of these questions on the chat itself, whatever I see on the chat.
Yeah. So, like, sir, presently you are at Microsoft as a senior software engineer. What excites you about this role, and how does it tie back to your journey? That's we wanted to understand.
So what excites me and how it ties it back to my journey is kind of related. So as I said, I spent the first about 8-9 years of my career in startups and mid-sized companies, right? There was a lot of learning, and when I decided to move on to a larger organization, the general advice that I got from my peers, colleagues, was that you are making a mistake. You are going from a very fast-paced, very innovation-friendly environment to somewhere where processes are slow, things are not that, things may not be that exciting. You will get bored. A lot of this advice I got, right? But I felt that I felt that, since I have seen how product companies at a smaller scale work on certain products, what I was lacking in my life and career was the understanding of how large organizations function, right? And we got a question that how do you balance innovation and stability? So if you really look at it, you will see that large organizations maintain that stability, right? It's a very surprising thing to see when in startups I was seeing it was in certain startups it's like a daily firefighting experience. Something or the other is breaking, you are going fixing that leak. When something else goes wrong, now you're rushing to fix that. So it's a less than ideal situation at times. So which is why I wanted to see how large companies function in that way, because there are so many products, there are so many teams distributed across geos. So how does it all work like a well-oiled machine? And so despite what people told me, what they advised me, I went ahead and joined Microsoft, and I would say I don't regret that decision. There has been a lot of learnings I have had at Microsoft, and in terms of being able to work in a larger organization, I would say more than Microsoft, it is about working in a large organization at a insane scale, right? There are the customer base and the number of users that we cater to is at a very high scale. So the learnings here I would say is I realized even more that what are the other things that engineers need to take care of, right? What are the what mature engineering is really about. So I'll give some examples. One of them is, it is expected at companies like Microsoft and all that when you're building a feature, you are not just building the functional aspect of it, right? Of course, the non-functional typical things like scalability, maintainability, all of these things are there. It's there everywhere. But you're also expected to think more in terms of the product. Like, how do you measure that what you're putting out, what you're building is really providing value? Or how do you measure when something is going wrong? So you have to keep so many things in mind and build your product in such a way. And that I would say is a very different way of thinking, a very different perspective compared to what I had seen in much smaller organizations. So yeah, those are the new learnings. And then, as I said, the integrations between different systems is like super awesome. And then there is another aspect where it's such a large organization that there the probability of finding a team that is solving a very specific problem is very high, right? So if you are facing a certain challenge in your work, probably there's a team in Microsoft that has been trying to solve that problem for maybe 5 or 10 years, and they're the experts on it. So you can always get like a ready-made help from the organization itself whenever you're faced with a problem, rather than trying to search the internet on whether such a thing exists. And also, being a large organization catering to so many customers across the world, it is also very important that the security aspect, the privacy aspect, these are very, very important, right? Even in making your applications accessible and all is also much more important than what I've ever seen in a smaller organization. So these are, different new things that now you realize that you have to also take care of, right? In addition to writing your code and making it functional and bug-free and of high quality. So even there's a lot of stress on automation, unit tests, all of these things. So I would say the engineering discipline, engineering processes overall is different and much more mature. And mature in the sense that it has to ensure stability without slowing the development down, right? So if there is something that needs to be done to eventually make development faster, but for now you have to take a pause and build that system, the recommendation would be go ahead, take some time and build that system. because that will help us move faster in future. That's the difference in the kind of thinking, right? So I think I have given a combined answer to both these questions because it is very closely coupled in my experience. Hey, you're on mute. Yeah.
This is the Q&A time again. I will urge Vanshika and Ravi Kumar to ask their own questions if they can. Ravi, are you there?
I think Sai Praveen wants to ask a question. I
Praveen,
think,
you can ask.
yeah.
Hi, sir.
Hello.
Yeah. How important is open source contribution of personal projects when applying to top product-based companies?
So, it definitely adds some credibility. More than credibility, it also gives you some experience of working in a real, and usually, in a lot of cases, I'm not saying this is universally true, but when you are doing any kind of open source contribution to a large enough project, it's not very easy, right? There's a very detailed and tight review process. There is a lot of quality checks that happen. So it is always a great experience to contribute to open source projects, right? It will help you in your learning. It will help you in writing better code. But at the same time, again, as I always advise, don't do something just for the sake of it. Just because you, I mean, yes, it does add some credibility, although not a deal breaker kind of a thing. It does add some credibility, but don't just do it to add credibility. Do it if you're really interested in that, because it is eventually a learning experience. So unless you enjoy doing that, unless you take away something from that, it is useless, right? So you can do n number of things. Only if they help you learn something, then only it is worthwhile.
Yeah. How can someone from Tier 3 college stand out and build a profile strong enough for product companies like Microsoft?
Right. So see, the thing is, building a strong profile is again a bit of a subjective thing. I would say just the work, whatever you're doing, try to learn as much as possible in that work and try to do some great work. Right? It means that taking extra care in whatever you're doing, trying to, as I said, not just fulfill the requirements, but to see what else can you do. Can you do better? Can you improve? So that helps. But in terms of profile building, obviously, we do face that challenge that but yeah, as I said, this bias has changed a lot over the years. People don't really look at your background as much as they used to previously. But yeah, there is no very straightforward answer to this, because there's nothing magical that you can really do to improve your profile. It's just that try to do whatever interests you. Try to learn. Learning is very important. So if you want to do an open source contribution, even before you do an open source contribution, go ahead and read the code
Bro,
on that repo.
what the hell you accept from a Tier 3
Reading,
college? Either
reading,
cry about it or drop out and
yeah, reading code is also one of the best ways to learn, because so this is basically the social aspect of code, right? This is a slightly different thing. You might have heard about it, you might not have, but code is written more for other human beings rather than for the computer, right? If code was purely written for the computer, we would be still stuck in machine language, assembly language, that sort of a thing. But we use high level languages because it helps communicate better to other people who are going to touch that later in their life. Other people who are going to touch that later in their life. So essentially, what I'm trying to say is learning is super important, right? And your focus should be on learning, because that will somehow help in making your profile stronger. But there are no very straightforward ways to just make your profile stronger by itself.
Yes, sir. Thank you for explaining it all.
Sir, I have one question. During the starting of our career, what kind of company should we seek like to begin work with? Should it be like a small firm startup or one big company like Microsoft or TCS? Which would be better for our career or where we can gain more experience?
Right. So see, where you can gain more experience is depends on a lot of things. Depends on what kind of project you are put in. There are
Truth
there is
hurts,
maybe
bro, but the truth is, you're calm.
yeah, there are probably uh, boring or mundane work happening in any organization, be it a startup or be it a large company. The teams are different, right? There are some not so great teams, right? Very practically speaking. So the way you should evaluate this is what you want to do at the start of your career, because at the start of your career, it is best if you can land up somewhere where you will be able to learn a lot. That should be your focus. Stay away from places where you are going to be very comfortable. The workload is going to be very low, because that also somehow means, usually, practically speaking, that you won't be able to learn that much. You won't be able to gain a lot of real experience, right? So evaluate that. See where your interests lie. Do you want to build things, or do you want to, uh, you know, help in having a help in running things, right? If you are more interested in building things, I would say a product-based company would be a better choice. If you want to approach learning from a different side, where you observe how things are happening and you help run it, then a service-based organization also would help you gain that experience. All right, and of course, then there is the question of how much hustle you're willing to do, right? Quote unquote hustle, as they say. At the start of your career, usually we have more appetite to hustle, work harder, take more risks, right, compared to the later part of our career. So that should be the way to decide, right, whether you want to. And also, even in choosing a product company or a service-based company, you also have to think in terms of whether you're looking for a brand value which will help you move or switch in your career later on, or are you looking more is your focus going to be more on learning, right? Because that will also determine the size of the company that you will choose. If your focus is to learn alone, that I want to really become great at something, I really want to be able to wear a lot of hats and play a lot of different roles, go step outside my comfort zone, maybe figure a lot of things out without much help, then a smaller organization is right for you. And if your interest is in that I want to learn by looking at how looking at systems that have been built very well, then maybe you should choose a bigger company, because then you would be able to learn from experience rather than figuring things out. And it also has its pros and cons, because if you it may be very exciting to be the smartest person in the room, but it's also not a great thing, because then you're not learning from anyone else. Whatever you are saying, everyone else will agree and they will say you're doing the right thing. But when you're not the smartest person in the room, there will be people who will be able to validate your ideas. And getting your ideas validated is again a great way to learn. I have seen in a lot of different companies. I've been fortunate to have worked with certain very senior architects, and some of the decisions they took did not make sense. Right? They were not the ideal thing that you would do in a software engineering context. It's not traditionally best practice, but they had the reasons why they were doing it. If they had followed the best practice, maybe the whole system would have crashed under the kind of load that they were trying to handle. So I've seen a lot of unconventional decisions being taken with justification, and those are the ones that you really learn from, because any textbook will teach you the best practices, but a real world experience will always teach you the trade-offs, right, which will help you in your career and in maturing as an engineer.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much for that.
Sir, I think we should take the question from Vanshika. Sir, I'm at the starting point of my career. What one piece of advice would you give to someone in my position?
Okay. So there's probably a lot of advice that I could give you, but I don't know where to start. But yeah, as I said, I think I have touched upon a lot of these points in all the questions I've answered so far. I would say the number one thing that you should aim to do is keep an open mind and learn as much as you can. Right? That is very, very important. The day your learning stops, it becomes a real challenge for you to grow from that point onwards. So put a good amount of focus on learning. And the second thing is my favorite, which I think I've stated at the very beginning, is that try to be more than a programmer or coder. Try to be a software engineer. Try to understand what engineering is about. Right? I think I won't go into the finer details of what software engineering is about, but in a very brief, if I were to say it very briefly, I would say that it's more than just fulfilling the requirements in a functional way. All right. So these two are I think the top two advice that I would give you. That learn, put a lot of focus on learning. Number two, try to be an engineer rather than a coder, or even be an engineer in a specific domain. I would say try to be a generic engineer. Try to aim for that. Broaden your the way you look at things, right? Broaden your perspective. Now, you would hear this advice, a lot of time in future, and quote unquote, it says that look at the big picture, but this is basically what it means. It means that you try and understand more than what you're actually directly working. Because most of the time you'll be working on a small part of a system, right? You can't be working on the entire system, right? There's a whole team, and there is a hierarchy of people with different experience who are working on that. So you will probably be working on a smaller part of a system, but try to understand as much as you can about the entire system, how things work end to end, how they tie into each other, right? That will broaden your perspective, and that will help you grow as an engineer, become more mature, take better decisions, right? It will definitely help in your career growth as well. And probably the third advice that I would give is see, there are a lot of soft skills or skills that are not directly tied to the work that you're doing right now, which are super important. Again, fortunately or unfortunately, but they are important. For example, communication, right? Super important. And communication doesn't just mean talking. It doesn't just mean me being able to explain to you, or communication also doesn't mean being good in English or a particular language, right? Obviously, to some extent, you have to be good in that language. Otherwise, your words would not make any sense, right? They would not convey the real value or the real meaning. But communication also means that when you're doing something, and again, this is now coming into like a very practical scenario, where you're doing something, but at the same time, you make sure people know that you have done it, right? If people don't know what you have done, or the value in it, then a very practical question would be, why would I give you an opportunity to grow in your career? Or very simply put, why would you you know why should I give you that promotion or career growth, right? So this is just one example. Communication doesn't end there, but there are lots of other soft skills that are required for you to be working with other people, working as part of a team, which will help you grow in life, right? Negotiation skills, to some extent, being able to sell something, right? Sales, marketing. Sounds very weird, and probably sounds very out of context. I'm saying this here in this forum, but you will realize that, the more skills that you have, the better your chances would be at winning in life, because a career is just part of your life. It all ties into how you win in life, right? So yeah, those would be my top three advices for pretty much anyone, not just someone who's starting out in their career, but pretty much anyone.
So the next question is Mandar and Satyam has raised their hands. Can you guys speak up? Mandar, Satyam.
Yes, can I go first?
Yeah, you can speak up.
Very good evening, sir. Firstly, with this very nice session, and I just want to ask that I'm from a tier 3 colleges and I have some experience in development. So, can you give me a referral based on my profile in Microsoft? Is it possible?
Yeah, I mean, you can get in touch with me later, and I can have a look at your resume and see whether it is what kind of opportunity I might be able to help you out. I mean, I can't commit to that, but yeah, if you're looking for an internship role and there are internship options open, I would definitely try and see if I can help you. Uh, so yeah, I mean, you can connect with me after the call, and we can talk about it.
How can I connect you, like LinkedIn or any other platform?
Yeah, any platform.
Okay, sir.
It's very easy to find me on LinkedIn, I believe. Right? So, yeah.
Yes, sir. I'll share a connection request to you.
Sure, definitely.
Thank you so much, sir.
No worries.
Satyam, you can go next.
So I'm a first year undergraduate student at Paida College of Engineering. I really don't understand the things which are going around me. Like, could you explain me what is Linux?
Okay, so I think what you are asking is kind of like a technical deep dive into a lot of technologies, which might be a little, out of context for this particular session. If you wanted to learn about what Linux is and all, it's very simple to just Google for it, and you will get a lot of great answers. You might even use the new friend everyone has, ChatGPT or any other AI tool, to ask those questions and get a lot of context. I don't think you need me to answer that, right? It's all these different things you can pretty much find very easily online.
The next question we have Sneha and Mukesh. Sneha or Mukesh, if you can speak up.
Hello, sir. Myself, Sneha.
Yeah.
I'm a final student of BTech AEDS. Sir, I'm trying to learn AML or AML engineer. And is it have wide opportunity for AML, or should I go for development side?
Right. So if you're really interested in AI/ML, I would say that try to focus on that first. Opportunities wise, I think it's a pretty big thing, right? It's AI/ML is pretty much driving a lot of decision making all across. To look at it from a very high level point of view, the ultimate thing that any business or anything that we want to do is to be able to make predictions, and that's what AI/ML. One of the big applications of AI/ML is in that. There are obviously other applications as well. And yeah, so I think in terms of market opportunities, there are a lot of opportunities out there for this. And if you're really interested, I would say invest some time into it, learn it, because when you love something, then it's easier to learn and be an expert in that compared to switching just for the sake of career, right? Consider switching only when you see no other way out. You have tried, put in some time, but it's not working out. So everyone puts a deadline, right? That's how we work. But you should put in a minimum amount of time and see whether it works out or not before you consider switching.
So as this point is
Hello. So may I ask the question?
Yeah, please go ahead. I think Shivan's video is
Is
frozen.
it more like I should be a specialist at some point, maybe computer vision or NLP, or I should have a hands-on of everything, considering Gen AI, agents, AI, chatbot building, or everything around combining with data science? What should I do specifically?
Right. So when you talk about specializations versus generalization, the way that makes most sense for me is go deep into something, right? So start with some sort of specialization, but at the same time try gaining context around all the other things. You don't have to be an expert in everything, but as I said, keep broadening your perspective. Try to get the general knowledge of everything. That is what I think truly helps, and that's a very personal opinion. But I think you start with specialization and then keep broadening, and get some general understanding of that subject as
The next question we have from Mukesh. Mukesh, you can speak up.
Hello, am I audible?
well. Yes,
Yeah, you are.
Hi, sir. Ayon Ghosh, sir.
Hi, Mukesh.
Actually, I am coming from a CSE background. That is, I'm still pursuing BTech second year. I'm in core CSE, and this thing has been bothering me since a few days, and that is the way AI is shaping our careers, basically. Because I think majority of the students will have this question that even our majority of the students who are attending classes, right? And we have projects, assignments, class notes, PPTs, whatever it is, we are dependent on the AI models which are there now, say ChatGPT, DeepSeek, or Gemini. We use these platforms to complete our projects, assignments, or even for our daily day-to-day notes or before exams. For example, now my exams are going on. I'm totally dependent on ChatGPT on what to study or getting a summary of all the PPTs. Looking at this, I think even coding is also being done by ChatGPT. Vibe coding is becoming really popular these days, and also seeing companies moving to AI models to replace majority of the jobs. I just wanted to ask you, like, what is it that we can do to, stand out, or what is it that will help us secure our future in CSE? Because I think AI is going to impact deeply on only CS students, basically, because that is where majority of the coders are, majority of the APIs development and all. So, is there any suggestions you would like to share?
Yeah, so that's a great question and also a very commonly asked one. And it's a very genuine question that you have asked, right? Very relevant one. So, you know what? Let's look at the fact. The fact is, there has been a new technology, whether hyped or not, is something we don't know yet, but it's showing a lot of promise, right? And if it really is what it is, and if it can really live up to that hype, then it's going to change the world. It's going to change the way we work. Change the world, not as in solve global hunger or something like that, but it's going to have a very deep impact on pretty much a lot of fields in today's world, right? And you are partially right that in terms of a career point of view, yes, computer science students are probably going to be most impacted by it, but at the same time, it also has a wide range of applications in a lot of other fields. So it might have an impact on a lot of other different careers from other domains, right? So yeah, that's a fact. Now, what do we do? What my suggestion would be, again, it's a personal suggestion. I would say there's no other choice but to embrace it. If embracing this tool or technology enables you to be faster, enables you to be more efficient, enables you to be better in any way, then I think the most obvious and logical choice for us would be to leverage it, right? And the person who is able to leverage it will obviously stand out compared to the person who does not. So if there is a change coming and there is nothing you can do to stop that change from coming, it's probably and a good thing, I mean, not a like an evil coming or something, then the best possible thing for you would be to make that your friend, see how it can help you, right? So if you look at it, change has always been there. I will take a very old example. So when the industrial revolution happened, right? Machines came in, a lot of things were automated, a lot of people lost their jobs. But at the same time, who really stood to gain were the people who could leverage the machines, who could use the machines to do things in a better way, right? And if you look at that, it also opened up a lot of other new jobs that never existed. When the software boom happened, it brought in a lot of jobs that did not exist prior to that, right? So if something is, again, I would not say use AI just because it's somebody told you to, or just because it is the hottest thing in the market right now. See how it can help you, right? As you said, you are using it. From what I understand, you are actually using it in your day-to-day life to do things in a better way. So if it is helping you, I would say that just continue doing it. Start adopting it more and more and see what all else you can do, right? How you can get better with that tool. All right. So that would be my very straightforward advice related to AI and everything.
Sir, okay, I just wanted to like just clarify. So, I mean, that is even my point of view that there are both good and bad to anything which is happening. That is, be it the industrial revolution or the AI revolution which is coming up now. But what I mean, not afraid, but what I want to like, you know, like how do I phrase it? Like basically, what I am worried about is our future basically, because AI is constantly updating. I mean, it is evolving, right? It is learning from all our chats. I mean, whatever we are inputting it and all of that. What I am trying to like understand, or I mean, what I would like your suggestion is like as a student, I have 2 more years remaining. That is third year and fourth year, and I'm pretty sure I'm not going to do it without ChatGPT. I mean, I'm pretty sure it has become a part of 90% of the students who are into computer science. So, like, I don't understand. Like, are we like developing our skills, or are we developing the AI's model and then leveraging it? Because I think basically what we are doing right now is just prompt engineering in computer science, basically. Majority of the students are getting like just on how to give the prompt and they're getting the answer. That's what they're doing. Like what basically I would like to put it in as when we go to a company, like say for an interview, and they are going to ask us questions. I mean, I don't think that's going to change anytime soon until and unless the company, the entire segment revolves around AI. Until and unless that happens, I think they're going to still ask us C++ questions, Java questions, and basic questions basically.
Maybe,
And
yeah.
us being dependent on this AI models,
Hmm.
I mean, that is a little, terrifying when you see it in that point of view, right?
Okay, yeah, I think I get your question. See, so my take is that fundamentals are always going to be important. If you can solve, if you are given, let's say, a computer science problem, a coding question, and you can just give it to the AI and get the answer, that's a very basic usage of AI, right? What I am talking about is, first of all, fundamentals are important. You need to have your fundamentals correct, your concepts and everything. because you also need to be able to validate what the AI is spitting out to you, right? Because see, before there was AI, people used to Google for answers, get answers on Stack Overflow. Stack Overflow is still, there is a voting system. You still know whether that's the right answer or not. But in a lot of questions, in a lot of situations, people would just blindly copy paste answers without understanding, and it would anyway lead to buggy code, right? So what I'm saying is you need to know whether what AI is giving you is right or wrong, and also, it does not just end at the interview stage. When you are solving bigger problems in your at work, then there's a lot of other things involved, like designing it, and designing something is always based on the current set of constraints and that you have, right? What system you have, how much of load you have, and that's different for different cases. So, being able to use AI to build that system in, maybe hypothetically speaking, a week compared to 3 months is where we want to be. Not, don't look at it as just becoming a prompt engineer, because even being able to write the correct prompts and get a good answer from AI also takes some skill. Not everybody can do it. Giving it a problem and asking it to solve it is a very basic use case, right? But being able to use it in the right way, being able to write the prompts in a correct way is also something that's not very straightforward to do. And not, even though 90% of people are using it, 90% of people are not gaining value out of it. They're maybe just using it like a toy, right, for a very short-term goal. So keep that in mind. Always see how it can help you to get better, right? And yes, fundamentals are important. Unless you know, unless you're able to explain and understand what the answer that the generative AI is giving you, being able to simply use that tool is also not going to help you in the long run.
Right, sir. Thank you, sir. That was really helpful. And sir, sorry to take up more time. Just one last question.
Yeah, tell me.
That would be that currently, like I said, I am pursuing CSE core. Okay, so like it's not any specialization like AIML or cloud or mathematical and computing. And given the current situation, keeping everything in mind, the trends, AI, data, whatever it is, which field, sir, would you suggest for us to, because as we are in core, right? I think the leverage which we have is that we can switch to any stream we would like. So, like, what would be your suggestion for people who have taken core CSE in the upcoming few years, say 5 to 10 years, according to trends or anything? Which field would be more, you know, beneficial or more engaging or more promising for students?
I see. So, you're basically asking me to predict something which I will not be able to give a very good answer for. So, yeah, I mean, I really don't have a very good answer to your question. So I'm not just going to try and fake and give you some, random stuff, something that I will make up. But yeah, always be a little opportunistic. Look at the signals around you and see where it leads you, is probably what my advice would be. It's a little abstract, but I would say, instead of trying to predict and focus on something, because there is no ready answer for it, you have to be a little opportunistic, keep your eyes open, see where it can lead you, where you can, best apply yourself and add value, and try to take your career in that direction.
Right, sir. Okay. Thank you so much, sir.
Sir, Parth here. Sir, I have one question.
Yeah.
Uh, Sir, as I am innovator of building real world product, like I am founder of Advanced Mass. So, what advice would you give to me as I am student entrepreneur in second year BTech AIML? So, when it comes to scaling their idea using technology, how platforms like big MNC help us to take it globally to scale it?
See, scaling it means you want to reach out to more people, right? That's the
Yeah,
definition
sir.
of scaling from what I understand. And reaching more people obviously has an impact on your tech, because what worked for 100 people may not work for 1,000 people or a million people, right?
Right.
So, first of all, you have a marketing problem where you want to reach out to more people. Once you've solved not once you have solved it, in parallel, you should try to work on technically scaling your systems and your product or your platform, whatever it is that you have, to be able to handle that. And there are lots of options out there depending on what specific problem you're trying to solve. So I don't know what specific challenge you are going to face, whether it's an infrastructure challenge or whether it also depends on your domain, what your product is. So there are lots of options around you, right, that you can choose from.
So,
Uh,
what advice will you give to me to reach more people?
so that's a marketing question, right? See, marketing can be inbound or outbound. You can, if you want to sell quickly, you can use, you will have to rely on some kind of paid media or promotion to reach out to more people, right? Uh, or if you want it to be like a slow growth but a more robust growth, then try to get more repeat business. Again, I don't know what domain you're in, like what domain your startup is in, so it may or may not be relevant for you. But you can try and get more repeat business and gain some organic growth from word of mouth and that kind of stuff, right? So there are multiple ways, but the exact way that would work for you would depend on your exact situation. So it's not possible to give a very generic answer to it.
Right. Yeah. Thank you so much, sir.
I have a question, sir. Hello, good
Hi,
evening.
Rishita. Yeah.
So, this question is asked by Chandresh P in the chat
Okay.
box. I'll ask him on his behalf.
Okay.
So, I heard Xbox is one of the companies of Microsoft. The Xbox, they develop video games and publish it. What do you think developing video games and it will be in future? If so, what are the things we have to learn and start a company?
I see. Very interesting question, and not something that I have a lot of context on. But see, I'm not sure if this question is being asked from a purely tech point of view or from the overall, you know, future of video games. Like if you look at the overall future, yes, it's a form of entertainment, and entertainment never stops, right? Movies are going to be there forever. Music is going to be there forever. All kinds of entertainment are going to be there forever. So, from uh, the futuristic point of view, I think it has a bright future. It has a stable, steady future. Uh, but yeah, what might change is the way we develop it. So the kind of technologies that we use. Again, considering all the different things that are coming in, it will always be there. Even uh, video games, for most video games, one of the biggest challenges or aspects that you need to consider is the fact uh, of how much compute power, how efficient it is, how optimized it is. Those kind of things are there. So, what are the things that we have to learn and start a company? First of all, that should not be the first question you should be asking. The first question for you to ask yourself, maybe I've already asked, is what is it that you want to build, right? How are is it going to be really fun, whether people are going to really play that game, and then you should think about the technology and stuff. But I'm not a specialist in the video game sector or tech, so I probably won't be able to give you a very detailed answer on that.
Yeah, sir. Get it. Thank you.
Yeah, good evening, sir. Like, good evening, everyone. I'm Lohambika, sir, like from Coimbatore. I'm yet to be a final year student, sir. Like, my question is about, so what are your steps for writing clean code, especially when it comes to team hiring, sir? Like,
That's
most,
a very that's a very good question actually.
yeah, sir.
Clean code, see again, these principles of software engineering have not changed in a very long time, which is why I say that focus on engineering, because these are the evergreen principles that will be true no matter what technology comes. Now coming to the specifics of your question, what do I look for? Again, there are a finite number of clean code principles. There are books that are written on it, so it's very easy to find out. But the top things that you should look at is readability. As I was saying, there is a social aspect of code. Code is not only written for machines, it's written for other human beings to come and understand, right? Again, one of the unconventional things that I will say is, if you are a good engineer, it sounds very counterintuitive, but if you are a good engineer, people will not miss you when you leave a company, right? Why do I say that? Because the thing that you will build and leave for the others will be so simple to understand, so simple to enhance, simple to make changes to, that people will never think of calling you up and asking that, I don't understand what you have written in that function. How is it working? Right? So always write code in a way that people don't miss you once
Yes,
they
sir.
don't have access to you, but they have access to the code. Right?
Yes, sir.
So, low level details of that would be how simple the logic is, right? Simplicity, as they say, that it wins over everything else. How simple the logic is, how do you name your variables? Like, looking at your variable, do I understand what is it doing? Looking at your function name, do I understand what is it doing? Looking at your code, do I understand what it is trying to do? So another good principle is always modularize everything. Then there is that single responsibility principle where, uh, which is expressed in a very bad way when they say that a function should not have 20 lines, more than 20 lines of code. What it really means is that a function should not be doing more than it is supposed to, or more than a single responsibility. If a function is about calling an API, then it should just call the API. It should not process the API response after that. You should have a different function to process the API response after it receives the response. And then you should have a third function that orchestrates, right? Which calls the API and then calls the function, calls the function to call the API and then calls the function to process the response that way. Then that is how you build these modules. And then you have to also think about decoupling the modules, which also ties to kind of like the single responsibility principle and the single point of failure sort of a thing, right? So you should not have something. Uh, you should try to build something which is resilient as in the sense that if all the things that it is depending on, if one of them fails, then it does not bring the entire system down. And number two is it should also, not be very closely dependent on another system. So if you want to make changes, you should not have to think of, in different contexts and then make that change. Right? So again, it's going to sound very abstract the more I talk about it, but the guiding principles are the same. Write code that other people understand well. Get feedback. I actually do this from time to time. There's a
Yes.
practice that I follow. Whenever somebody else has touched some of my code, they have built a feature on top of that, I make sure to go and ask that person that, how do you find working with this code? What do you feel could have been better? Right? What do you think you did not like about working with my code? So that feedback also helps a lot. So I think this approach can guide you in the right direction when it comes to writing clean code.
Yeah, sir. I think so. I learned a lot from you, sir. Like recently, under intern, they encourage me for using the magic numbers. Like unwantedly, don't call insert any numbers in between the functions, sir. Like, thank you for your guidance. So, like, one more question, sir. Like, based on the interview, like, sir, from my perspective, one of the most essential skill is being easy to work with. What's your perspective on this, sir? When it comes to behavioral hiring, like, yeah, sir.
Hmm. Again, a great question. I mean, I love the kind of questions that are coming in from this forum, right? Uh, so being easy to work with doesn't mean, uh, you know, doesn't mean being a people pleaser, first of all, right? Being easy to work with means you are very approachable. People can come and ask you a
Yes,
question
sir.
and expect to get a well informed and well justified answer. It also means that when somebody is proposing an idea, you can, of course, say it's not a great idea, but you should be able to tell them why it's not a great idea, and at the same time, preferably propose a better solution. That is what being easy to work with means in my opinion and my experience. It doesn't have to be someone comes to me with a very bad idea, and just because I want to please that person, it could be a senior, it could be even my boss. I have seen people argue in the I'm not encouraging that, by the way, but in my experience, I've seen people argue with their bosses, with their seniors, where the environment actually encouraged them to argue because they had a point. It's not that because you're a senior, you're always right. So that is what being easy to work with meant, where uh, a person can actually tell a senior that I don't approve of what you're telling me, what you're proposing, because of so and so reason. There has to be justification. You just can't say that I don't like your idea because I don't like it.
Yeah, sir.
So there has to be justification, and there has to be a better solution that you are proposing. That I don't like it because of so and so reason, and I think this approach will be better because of so and so reason. That is what actually means to be easy to work with.
Yeah, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, sir. Like, behalf of my college, like, most of the students from my side are like from Tier-3 colleges. So, like, behalf of them, I'm letting question this. Like, we are with limited industry exposure. So what should we prioritize to build a strong profile for a company like Microsoft? So, Microsoft's like company, even though Tier 1 companies or other companies don't visit our college, we need to approach off campus only, sir.
Yes.
So, yeah, sir.
So yeah, I think I already answered this question. Someone asked this earlier. The summary again is there is no very direct or straightforward answer to this, right?
Okay, sir.
Again, my take on this would be, see, there's nothing magical that you can do to improve your profile. So it only makes sense that you keep a learning mindset, try to learn as much as possible, and whatever you are doing, try to do the best that you can. Right? That will add value to your skills and probably also to some extent your profile. But yeah, and obviously keep looking for opportunities that might help. Because see, in my case, one of the approaches that I wanted to take is, because I did not have very good experience, I decided to go ahead and do some freelancing work to gain some experience.
Yes, sir.
Right? So that is one hack that I applied to strengthen my profile, where I can say that I not only have worked on this, but I also have worked on this n number of other projects, real world projects that, these are not like, some pet projects that I did for my own hobby or something. It's like I went ahead and solved someone's actual technical problem, however small it might be. But, these are some of the ways. I'm pretty sure you can brainstorm and come up with even more ways to do it.
Sir,
Hey
thank you.
guys,
So, like,
right
finally,
here.
last request from my side. Like, can you accept my LinkedIn request? For
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sir. Thank you.
So, please, Mary B.
Mine too, sir.
No worries. I'll accept all of your requests. Don't
Also, everyone, before leaving
worry
the
about it.
meeting,
Yeah.
could you all please follow us on Instagram and Twitter? We are growing our
I have a question over here before ending the meeting.
No, the meeting is not ending. Just an announcement. So we are
Yeah.
Okay.
running out of time, and This is the time where we start our rapid Q&A session. And not to mention, but this is the first ever chance you get through Growbinar that you can ask anything to an amazing, cool person in this session from a company where their employees don't even ask to your cold emails, LinkedIn DMs, or anything. So be quick and don't ask repetitive questions which I have already covered as you are listening to the session. Um, that's all, guys. Have some quick questions.
So my
I
question
just have
is,
a one question. Okay, go.
okay. The first round of screening during the hiring is that they check our resume into and check our ATS score. So most of the people, what they do is they put the keywords, and that's what the ATS checks is. That's right, like Java, Python. That's what everyone puts, like everything in the resume, and also they put about the projects. Like they search what is the high demanding project, and they some might do the project or some might not, and they will put in the resume. So during this first round of screening, how will we stand out during this process?
See, if people are resorting to these unfair practices, there is nothing we can do about it, right? It is unfortunate, but there is nothing we can do about it. But I would always say be honest and put in whatever it is that you have actually worked on. Even if that other person, just because they have put in some made up experience in their resume, gets a call, it is very easy for us to figure out while talking to, I can talk to 5 minutes to a person about his experience and I can figure out whether he's lying on his resume or not, right? So,
well, that would come at the second round of the resume
it would, but then
screening.
that person would get rejected anyway, right? There is nothing you can do in particular to stand out as such. If you are truthful, you write what you have worked on. You can't just make up things and uh, just to stand out. I think one other thing that you can do is craft your resume as per the role that is being asked for. That's some extra effort on your part to customize it. But beyond that, I don't think there is any, again, very straightforward way to do things to stand out alone from that point of being standing. Like it's like whoever is trying to shout out the louder. Everyone tries to shout louder and louder, but doesn't help after a point. It's chaos, right? And what can you do in that situation? Maybe you can shout in a different way, but yeah, it's kind of difficult to deal with that. But yeah, be truthful, and I'm pretty sure whenever you get the opportunity, then people will be like undeserving people who are not being truthful will be filtered out. That's for sure.
Okay, so thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. How important is LinkedIn for earlier career growth, and what key elements do recruiters or tech professionals usually notice first?
So LinkedIn is just a platform where you put a digital version of your resume, right? These days, people are doing all sorts of things. They're putting in how many problems they've solved on Lead Code, blah blah blah. But I think the effort should not be on I mean, I'm not saying don't spend any time at all, because some people still gain that first impression from your LinkedIn profile. Optimize it, but don't spend too much of time on LinkedIn. Your actual effort should be on upskilling yourself and on learning, on your self-development, because that will have very long-term implications. Just optimizing your LinkedIn profile might just get you one extra, query from a recruiter, but it won't help you in the long term in any major way.
Thank you, sir.
So, following up your career as an SD in Microsoft, I want to ask you a question that according to you, if there is an hiring process, there are two person. If there is one person who is being expert in single domain, he knows everything about the domain, and there is another person who is specialized in many of the domains. Matlab, he has an overview of more domains than the previous one, but is not specialized in a single one. Then company would prefer which person if they have a choice in both of them.
Interesting. So, See, specialization is definitely, how you get noticed for a role, because typically a role will be specialized. It won't be like, it will be either a web developer role, or it will be a AI ML role, or a data science role, right? Or a database engineer, that sort of a thing. It won't be like the evaluation process might be optimized for hiring generic engineers, but the role will most of the time be specialized, right? So there is no preference as such. Obviously, if a non-technical person is at the decision making, is going to take the decision, then they will go for the specialized one, because that will show that, okay, this is directly suited to my role, right? The role that I'm looking for. So communicate that accordingly in your resume. And I don't think anyone is a very broad generalist that, from your resume you can't figure out what this person has worked on. That's very unusual, right? As I said, specialization, yes, that's important. That is what you should communicate in your resume. If you have worked on 5 different things, but you will still see there's a common theme that is tying that, right? So that's how your resume should be. You should not try and say that I am a generic engineer, I don't care about anything else. All right. So, but at the same time, try to gain an overall understanding of everything around, and that happens over time. You don't have to put extra effort to just try and understand everything out there in the world. Yeah. So that's my take on it.
So, sir, according to you, if we are applying for a specific role, we should mention that mainly in our resume, and the other generic things that we have done, we should have them apart.
I mean, see, it's very obvious when I want somebody who can do X well, because the role is about doing X. And if you come to me and say I do X well, you stand a better chance, right? I will be biased towards you rather than somebody who says that, okay, I can do X, Y, Z, everything. But Y and Z is not relevant here, right? I'm looking for X. So, it's very, I mean, I would say it's very obvious here how that thinking process, that thought process works. So yes, if you are applying for something specific, make sure you show that I am suited for that specific thing. But we also look for, just one second. But as interviewers, we also look for how well a person can be coached or they can learn something, right? And that matters a lot. You may not know something, but if you see that trait in you that you can pick that up pretty well and pretty fast, then you do stand a better chance. Yeah, sorry, I cut you off. Whoever was asking.
Yes, so actually, it's me. Ashwarya had a question. She couldn't speak, so I'll ask it. Uh, um, it starts from, while my friend from ECE mentioned that Microsoft offers good opportunities for electronic student, I am from a computer science background and wanted to understand how CSE students can align with the roles Microsoft offers. Also, since CSE covers software development, AI/ML, cybersecurity, and cloud technologies, which are core to Microsoft's innovation, are there any specific areas or skills Microsoft currently prioritizes for CSE students? That's a question.
So, see, first of all, I'm not sure in what context it is being said that Microsoft offers good opportunities for electronic students, right? It's a software, it's not just a software enabled company, it's a core software engineering company, right? So it will definitely put a lot of stress on computer science students. But I think this is being said in a context where if you look at certain colleges, the fact is the people who the electronics engineering department gets the first preference when people during the counseling, when they're getting into when they're getting the choice of which stream they want to join. So I think in that sense it might be true where the ECA students, because they have been better students during the entrance, there is some bias. I'm not sure, I don't speak for that, but this is my assumption. So yeah, that's the first part which I'm not very clear about. But then the I think the real question is how CSE students can align with the roles Microsoft offers, and are there any specific areas or skills Microsoft currently prioritizes for CSE students? I don't think so. Right. Again, I'm not speaking for my company here. I don't know enough details about the recruiting process. I do interview people, but I cannot speak for the recruiting process at Microsoft. Uh, but yeah, my general understanding would be there is no prioritization as such for any specific skills. Your fundamentals are what we evaluate you on, and if you are applying for a more specialized role, then we do check your domain knowledge in that role as well. But yeah, that's pretty much how it is.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, hi Ravi.
Sir, I'm Ravi, sir. So far, the session is so insightful, and we learned a lot of things.
Thank you.
When you said regarding the freelancing thing, which you did to gain the experience, actually, I'm a freelancer who does graphic designing, video editing, all these things, but these are all completely irrelevant to my course, like computer science engineering. So, what type of freelancing would you recommend, or we should like that is not mandatory, but for experience or to learn on what type of freelancing we should focus on? And the things which I'm doing now, the graphic designing, video editing, will they be useful?
Yeah, see, the thing is, there are two aspects in what we do. There is something that we do because we love doing it. Then there are some things that we do that make more sense from a career point of view, but it may or may not be something that we are very passionate about, right? So, see, my take on this would be, if you can do software engineering and also something else that is not software engineering, don't you have a chance at either developing two independent careers, parallel careers, or being able to switch over to something that you really love later on in your life? What if you don't find software engineering as exciting as you expected, right? So think in those terms.
Exactly.
It is always good to have other skills, as I said. It may not be relevant to your current job or current role right now, but
yes, sir.
Video editing has a big market, right? Not everyone can edit videos. Again, design has a very big market of its own. Not everyone can come up with good designs, correct?
Yes,
so
sir.
if you like, never force yourself to do something that you don't enjoy, because in the long term it's not going to come very handy, right? I strongly believe that there are things you might partially enjoy, you might pursue it and grow a career, that's fine. But if something, you have spent like 6 months, a year doing it, and you absolutely feel miserable about doing it, then it's better not to do it, right? Because even if you are able to build a career, I don't think you'll be able to sustain it, because there will be no love for the work that you do. That's number one. But in your context, I think you are equally passionate about computer science as well as the other things that you do. Even I also have a lot of other hobbies in other, art domains and all, which I'm trying to, which I also spend time on, a lot of time on, in trying to build a parallel career on that, right? But yeah, the thing is, if you really want to explore freelancing work in the tech specific area, you can try and do that. Take up some projects that you think you will be really able to deliver and which will be simple to you. Pick it up, see how the experience grows. You might actually enjoy doing that. Then you start picking up more and more work as you get more and more experience. Or if you don't feel like it's working out well for you, then you can just drop the idea. But see, it is never wasted time. Any time that you have spent in experimenting, doing something new is never wasted, because you would have learned something out of that. Even if that learning means that I should not do that later on in my life, that's a learning, and that's important and that's valuable. So I will not strongly recommend that you just do it for the sake of it, but yeah, try it out. See if that helps, and then accordingly you can take a decision. Yeah, next question.
So let me have a quick answer for this one.
Okay.
Like, if you were hiring for your team and your resume came from a student like less than known college, so what would you make you pass and say why this person is worth interviewing? Like, yeah, so
First of all, I don't shortlist resumes. Right?
okay. So
There
like, what
was
skill you prefer? Like, yeah, in the
don't look at skills. See, I come in during the interview phase, right? I interview people, I
okay,
talk to them, and I try to get an understanding of a few things like number one, are their fundamentals right? Number two, if it is a domain specific role like a slightly experienced engineer, do they have sufficient domain knowledge? Sufficient. It doesn't mean that you have to know everything pertaining to that domain, but whatever you have worked on, have you worked in depth? Do you understand that in depth? And number three is, are you coachable? Right? When you're working as part of the team, if you come across something that you don't know yet, how quickly will you be able to pick it up? Right? How quickly you will be able to learn that? And the fourth thing is whether I will find it easy to work with you. Not me, it's not a personal thing. It's like, given the culture of the company and the team, will you be a right fit or not? Right? So these are probably the four things that I will look for in you. But for that, I have to talk to you for at least half an hour. Right?
yeah,
Only
sir.
then I'll be able to take a decision. And
Yeah, sir.
I don't shortlist resumes. We used to do that in some of the earlier startups that I worked at. And I would say I don't enjoy doing that. There's a lot of bias, when you're shortlisting resumes because you don't have the complete information. You have to take a decision based on what somebody has put on in a document, which may or may not be true. And you have to take a decision based on that partial or perhaps factually incorrect information. So I definitely don't enjoy doing that, and it's very difficult. So I
Yeah,
don't do it.
sir. Yeah, sir. Nowadays, college also prefer like just simply paste your job description in their skill sections. Yeah, sir. Yeah, sir. Thank you for your answers.
So, according to you, what is the thing that companies seek in a fresher?
See, the 4 points that I mentioned, pretty much all of that, right? Number one is your fundamentals. Number two, domain knowledge. If you are for a fresher, it will not be very relevant because they have not gone into a particular domain. So, double focus on fundamentals. Uh, Second thing would be how good of a learner you are, and the third thing would be how well you are suited for that the culture of that company and the team.
So, sir, for a particular interview, the interviewer might be seeking for about the knowledge and the skills that we are having, or will we seek for the way that we can interact with the people and we can showcase our skills to them?
Everything. The better you are at everything, the more chances you have. Right? See, the thing is, the interview. I mean, till now, even today, is a very human-driven process, right? So you will be interacting with another human being, and it all boils down to how well you are able to communicate with that person, how well you are able to communicate the value that you are going to bring, how well you are able to communicate your strengths as a person, right? Technical skills are obviously there, but there is a human element, strong human element in that. There have been interviews where people have been looking at their phones and laughing while I was explaining my solution, right? Is that my fault or that person's fault? I don't know. Maybe my solution was so bad and my communication skills were so bad at that time that this person was not even paying attention to me. There have also been instances where people were yawning while I was speaking. So again, I don't know whose fault that was. But the only control that you have, if it's that person's fault, there's nothing you can do. But reflect about it. If you feel that maybe it's because of my shortcoming, because I have not been able to interact well with the interviewer, then maybe that's something you need to work on.
Sure, sir. Sir, one more thing that from the perspective and the view of an HR, if
Mhm.
he is asking something, some question from a particular person,
Mhm.
so as we say that speaking something that the person wants to hear increases the chance of selection. So, what is the main perspective that that the HR want to hear from someone if for any domain perspective question that he asks?
So, see, first of all, don't say something that the other person wants to hear just to increase your chances. Because see, what eventually will happen is when you are faced with a similar situation, then you would not exhibit that kind of a mindset, and that won't help you, right? So instead, focus on what should be the ideal behavior or what should be the best possible behavior in a particular situation. And mostly, what people are looking for are 2-3 things only. One is the learnability that I said, that when you're faced with a challenge that you haven't faced before, you don't know enough, what do you do? Like, do you just surrender and say that I can't do it, or do you try and figure it out and do it? That's one. Obviously, anybody would want to hire a person who's willing to spend the time and effort and figure it out, right? But you have to develop that skill where you're willing to figure it out and you can figure it out when the opportunity presents itself, right? If you're not willing to do that, then just giving an answer and saying that I will figure it out will not help you, because you will not eventually figure it out, and that will cause big time problems in your career going forward. And second aspect they're looking for is conflict resolution. What happens when you disagree with a person? You're working in a team, there are going to be different point of views. There will be disagreements sooner or later. How are you going to handle that? Are you going to quarrel with that person? Are you going to stop talking with them? Are you going to, you can do any number of things which are unspeakable, right? But the right thing would be to try and understand their point of view and, talk to them, sort it out, and come to something that has the best interest of the company or the product in question, right? So these are the things that HR specific rounds are going to be looking at for you, culture fit and all of those other things. But yeah, you should be willing to live, like they say, do the talk, live the talk, whatever that phrase is. You should be able to do that and actually practice that rather than just saying it to please the other person.
Sure, sir. Thank you, sir, for your perspective.
So I
Like
have
to connect
one
you, sir, on
question.
LinkedIn.
Hello.
Yes,
So
Parth.
I have one question. If you got any chance,
Parth, I think I lost you. I can't hear you anymore. Maybe you can ask it on the chat thread.
am I audible now, sir?
Yes, now you are.
Sorry, sir, network issue.
Oh,
So, sir, if you got one chance to meet Bill Gates, sir, or if you have a plan to meet him. So, if Bill Gates sir meet you, what you will ask one question to him, or any one thing to him?
That is a very interesting question. I don't think I have spent enough time thinking about it, and I just can't, give you a very random answer. It really takes time to think about it. It also depends on a lot of things. How many questions can I ask him? How much time do I get to spend with him? Because then, I will be shortlisting all the questions that I want to ask him. But yeah, I mean, basically, whenever you want meet a person like that, the general thing that you would want to do is try and learn something from that person in the way he or she thinks, right? They are probably thinking in a very unconventional way, which is why, they have gotten unconventional results in their lives. So probably, tailor my questions to understanding, getting into their mind and trying to understand what is that unconventional, unusual, unique ways that they that are part of their perspective and how they think, right? If you can apply some of them in context, don't try to blindly follow anyone, because that will you will land up nowhere. But yeah, if you can contextually apply them to what you are doing, I think that would give you a lot of value from that meeting. essentially.
Or so, if you want to give any one feedback to him regarding Microsoft, so what will be the feedback?
I don't think I am qualified enough to give him feedback about the company as a whole. I work as a senior software engineer amongst thousands of senior software engineers at Microsoft in a very specific team, right? So I don't think I'm in a position to give him feedback on the entire company.
Right, sir. Right. Understood, sir. Thank you so much.
Sir, from my
Hello.
side, last question. Yeah, let me speak or any. Chinmaya, you can ask a question. Let me.
Well, I had a question, sir. Like for us students, we have a definition of success like joining some big company would be a success. But for you, what is the definition of success now? Like you have been in a good field, and what is the definition of success for you now?
It changes every 5 years, right? When I was fresh out of college, success meant building a good career, preferably in software, not preferably in software engineering, because that's what my passion was, right? In 5 years, it was about growing, right? In the next 5 years, it was about, you know, doing something more than software engineering. So yeah, it keeps on changing. It takes time to figure out, because success can be from the point of view of the self or from the point of view of others, right? For you, I might look like a very successful person, but you never know. For me, from my perspective, I may not feel that successful, because I might have certain goals in mind which you don't know of that I want to achieve. All right. So yeah, it varies from person to person. And if you really want to know what my uh, definition of success would look like, it would be I wouldn't say not working, because I'll go crazy if I don't work on something. And that work doesn't have to be software engineering. It has to be anything that I love doing. So my definition would be being able to spend enough time with my family and doing the thing that I love without having to worry about money. And I think that's also a goal for many people, right? But yeah, that's what success means to me. That being happy, and uh, if I were to quote someone else, again, this realization doesn't come very quickly. It takes a lifetime to arrive at that realization. But if I may consider someone else to be a real, uh, uh, a great thinker, and I believe what he's saying is correct, then I would quote Naval Ravikant, where he says that success comprises of four things, right? Uh, Wealth, health, happiness. I think three things or four things. I just remember three now. Wealth, health, happiness. But he says it is in the reverse of. We spend our whole lives doing it first wealth, then health, and then happiness. But he says that what actually matters is your happiness, then your health, then the wealth part of it. But yeah, it's very abstract. Don't start thinking about these philosophical things that I am saying right now. These will come at a very later stage in your life. I'm an old man. Don't start thinking about the way I think about these things.
Okay, so is there any way we might get a chance to meet you or interact with professionals like you or anyone in person sometime? Like we are from Bangalore.
Yeah, I mean, sure, you can maybe work with Gajendra and we can figure something out. Otherwise, you can always connect with me on LinkedIn. As I said, I should be pretty easy to find on LinkedIn, and we can connect there and start a conversation.
Hello, sir. There is one club in our college, and within 2 months, we are going to back our college. So, can we invite you to the event?
Sure,
Any
I would love
physical
to.
event?
I would love to interact with people like you, and I do love, because one of the things that I've been, again, as someone was asking, I said my goals change every 5 years. Not in a major way though. It's not like I want to do something and then I completely change direction. It's just that, more things come in and fewer things go out. So one of the things that I really am passionate about right now is, meeting people like you, and if I can help you in any way to motivate you or to guide you. So I do enjoy these interactions, uh, which is why, if you invite me to interact, uh, then I would really love that opportunity.
Sure, sir. It's our honor to
Thank you.
invite you.
Thank you so much.
I will continue the messaging and everything in the LinkedIn.
Sure.
Yeah, sir. Sir, if the college students wanted to reverse engineer how Microsoft builds reliable projects, sir, so what open source project would you point them to first?
No, you can't do that. You can't reverse engineer what Microsoft has built over decades with maybe hundreds or thousands of people, right? It's not easy to just go ahead and reverse engineer that. So, you also have to be a little patient, because some things take time and experience to understand, right? That is something also I've learned. Maybe not the hard way, but through my experience, that some things definitely take time, right? You have to talk to different kinds of people who are smarter than you, who have worked on bigger problems than you have, to at least be at a stage where you're able to understand how these big companies function, what is their thought process, how they build things, right? Even if you ask me to reverse engineer some products at Microsoft, I won't be able to do it for a lot of these products, because they are beyond my expertise, beyond my experience. They have been built over decades by hundreds and thousands of smart people. So just wait, do what you are doing right now, try to do the best possible, try to learn as much as you can, and gradually you will start figuring these things out.
Sure. Last one quick question. So what's a small coding habit or mindset shift you developed at Microsoft that you wish you had in the college?
I did not develop anything very specific in terms of coding at Microsoft.
Okay, sir.
Right. The coding style has always been the same, but as I said, again, learning software engineering, that also takes time and experience. You have to go through that process. You have to look at different kinds of code bases. Again, I've worked in a lot of companies, right? I've switched a lot during the initial stage of my career. Again, not an advice that I'm giving you. It's just that I have been through that and I've seen a lot of code bases, which has helped me to learn something from here and there, right? So the unique thing that I said I have learned at Microsoft is all these non-functional requirements, to make sure that I write code, I build in a way that helps me debug it and know, get alerted when something goes wrong, understand how users are interacting with it, whether it's working out or not, being able to run experiments, right? Making things resilient, robust, and yeah, those kind of things, but they are not coding oriented, they're mostly engineering oriented. Yeah, mostly that.
Yeah, I guess the questions are ending now, and this is the time to close this session, as we are already overdone the time, but we wanted to, because there were really amazing questions coming on. I think all the people got their answers of starting out, how to start their college, to what needs to be done in college, to what needs to after college, service, product, Microsoft, and a lot of things here and there, starting from freelancing, startup, corporate, and everything. I think this is a point where we continue to close this session, and the takeaways are: do what you want, don't obsess over the tech stack, and a lot of things like the hard work is the key. There are a lot of different fields you can work on, and many more that you have listened to. Uh, Thank you guys for being in this amazing section. I would like you also that as you have attended session, you can tag Ayon sir on LinkedIn, Growbinar, me, and everyone can tag them on the LinkedIn so that everybody can interact with sir on the LinkedIn platform as well. So I think someone has shared sir's profile too on
That's
in the chat box. That's great.
that. So if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, this is where you can send a request. I accept requests from everyone, and it might take some time, but I do check my messages also. But yeah, here's the, if you really want to connect with me, this is where I am available. And Shivam, just one thing, I think there were some questions on chat that I answered because it was repeated by someone else. And there might be some questions that I have not answered. I just want to make sure that I'm able to answer them. What is the best way to do that? You can let me know.
One thing is, I guess all of the questions are answered because someone, Rishika and Logambika, spoke on that, and the people we have who have asked this question. And some questions were asked by me. So I don't think there are any questions which are left now.
That's awesome then.
Yeah, great stuff.
All right. And yeah, really thank you to everyone for having me here, for listening to me so patiently, for asking all these wonderful questions. I had a great time interacting with all of you. And I also hope that you were able to take something away from this. I know I'm not a person who gives direct answers. If you ask me A or B, I will not tell you A or B. I will probably tell you something that will help you choose between A and B better. Right? That's my philosophy, and I hope that worked with you and you were able to learn something out of this session. So yeah, it was great connecting with all of you, and thank you so much. Thank you. And if you
Hello.
Yes, Mukesh. Okay, anyway, I was saying that if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn and if you have more questions, just feel free to do that. And yeah, so yeah, that was awesome. Like, really loved it.